Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing this November the 26th, 2025, gold and silver bullion video. You can see we're going to get right on into this video, and the Bitcoin price has stabilized. If we take a look and zoom out on and just above the 100-day moving average this week after collapsing below it for the first time, we don't care about your Black Friday sale. For the first time in quite some time, but it did do what it should do is find some brief traction and support on the 100-day moving average there, sitting at about 87,000 and change, 86,000. And now the question is, how high does this bounce? Does this continue to hold and try to make a run up here towards the 50-day moving average over the long holiday weekend? As you can see, the overhead moving averages are coming down where you have the overhead 50. You are about to have that bearish, golden bearish cross where the 100-day probably tomorrow is going to get below the 200-day. And then you'll have the short term moving average on the bottom, the medium term in the middle, and the long term on top, green, blue, or red, blue, and green respectively. That just means a long downturn. And you can see essentially ever since July, we've been consistently down, besides that big last fake out to the upside that got you a new all-time high there, but we've been down consistently ever since the summertime. And if this does not hold and make another run up near 100,000 or where the falling daily time frame moving average is, the next big move to the downside is $66,178. And we've been talking about this for several months because nobody was talking about it, and everybody thought we were going to the moon because since COVID 2020, the holidays, Thanksgiving to Christmas and New Year's has been an extravaganza. And we were warning about what if the market had other plans because nobody thought this was going down here, especially after 6 weeks ago, you had the big flush with a 10 to 28% dump in a matter of a day in Bitcoin and Ethereum, respectively, and 60 to 70% across the board in the matter of a couple of hours in the altcoins. And everybody thought that was the big liquidation needed to clear out everybody, which it cleared out every long that was on the board and millions of traders and billions of dollars for record amount of liquidation. But old Vincenzo was theorizing to you, my beautiful audience, with his truth, trust, and education. What if the market was giving you a false signal that it was really going down farther and much deeper because everybody with something on the side loaded in, and now the price continues to go down, and we're substantially lower than we were when we had that initial dump down and wick down a couple of 6 weeks ago, right? So 66,000 is your next major target to the downside, 100,000 is your major overhead resistance. To the upside, if we look at the DGB, you can see we're still struggling above the 0.00559, which is good, but we're below the daily time frame moving averages, bad. We're below the critical overhead left to right, major horizontal support and resistance. When you're below it, you're extremely bearish at 0.00838. And you can see after this most recent 100% pump, we were not able to hold it, just as the volume consolidated down like you would expect, and the price came down like you would expect. So what we're looking at now is you can see when this volume has you consolidated down in the price, when the volume spikes back up, which it will, is it going to be buy volume? And if when the volume does spike back up like this, which I'm forecasting it will in the next couple of weeks, since you had the pumping price, pumping volume bullish, and you had the falling price and falling volume, and then leveling off volume and leveling off price, that's textbook consolidation, which should lead to another pump as the volume picks up and increases coming off this cycle. And I think the next pump should get you at least back up to this 0.008. And then we'll have to reevaluate what's going on here in the short term. Um, but if that doesn't happen and the volume comes in bearish, you could be breaching this 0.00558 and going into price discovery to the wrong way. Same thing with the AMP. You can see we tried to wake up. We've got rejected 3 times with slightly lower, but we did this middle one did breach the first one, this overhead resistance and the 100-day moving average. But now the price is consolidating down. We're either A, loading up for when this volume comes back in for a big move up like this to the 0.00321, which was a multi-year pattern support, which is now a resistance, which would be a nice pump and a recovery going towards the end of the year, as I think next year, 2026 going into 27 is the year of the DGB and the AMP. But if you do not do that and the volume comes in bearish and you're jockeying around, your next move to the downside is very deep. Still don't want that, very dark and depressing down there at 0.00 137. The Ethereum, you can see we bounced just above the 24.75. We're coming up to our major upper resistance now, which is the bottom part of this green support and resistance box that used to be major support. You can see where we initially wicked down on support, and then you can see above that we held support and tried to hold support for a couple of weeks before we failed it, the same as we held it back here. And then that led us to the final leg of this most recent bull market that catapulted us to new all-time highs. But right now we're below that. So as we run into that, you would expect it to reject you. Just as you can see, you've just created a new minted bearish cross where the 50 has got below the 200. You can see the 100 will cross the 200 in a couple of days. And right now, the major overhead resistance, if this keeps pumping to the upside, is what is this? Yeah, 3,052.94. And then if you could get above that, that's how you can start to get short-term bullish to try to make a run all the way up here to the 34.72. On the flip side, if you can't get above that and you stagnate out and get rejected, you're going to come hit this 24.75 in the next week or so underneath major support, because if you broke that, 1798 is your next critical support at the top part of that blue support and resistance zone. And you can see why this 2475 is a critical support area, because that was the last major consolidation before the break off to the blow off top regionally that we just had, right? So that's what we're looking at there. The XLM is the same thing. You can see we actually wicked off the 200-day moving average in the weekly time frame and bounced all the way back up and almost got to the 100-day moving average in the weekly time frame. And then we've consolidated down just below that. And now option A is the bulls come back and you breach the 100-day moving average and try to make a run at the daily time frame 50-day moving average, which is sitting up here at 29 cents. You can see we just had a new minted bears, golden bears cross where the 100-day moving average got below the 200-day moving average. So there's your bullish scenario in the short term. Your bearish scenario is you get rejected where you're at, you come back down and hit this wick in liquidity like you usually do on wicks. You come back down to the wicks, can't hold the 200-day moving average and slip in the next week to 10 days and come down to the 18 cents. And that's very, very possible in the short and medium term. And that's why we're watching what's going on here, because we are on a triple bottom where you can see we had a major double bottom there, followed by a massive rally, and now we're back at that similar bottom. But this time you would think you wouldn't be able to hold that, seeing as you've hit it a couple of times. And I think we're going to do something like that right here again, which would lead the next move to the downside all the way down there to that underneath target at 18 cents and change. So that's what we're watching there in the XLM price. The XRP price is in a similar thing. You can see the price looks almost the same when you go back and forth. You can see XLM to XRP, same, similar, and this is those liquidation wicks I was talking about earlier. The XRP in the matter of about a half an hour went down 64.66%, and that was the wick that everybody thought cleared the way for the uptrend and it had to go up for the holiday season. But old Vincenzo was here for the people, spreading truth with trust and education and information. You can see we've just had a new minted golden bears cross where the 100-day is just ever so slightly now below the 200-day, and the 50-day is below all of them, signaling a long-term bullish bearish trend or a downtrend, which we have been in. And you can see we did bounce off just like XLM. The 100-day moving average, in this case, not the 200-day, came all the way back up almost to the 50-day moving average, and now we're consolidating. And on the bullish scenario is buyers are going to come in and you're going to end up above the 50-day in the weekly and then get on top of the 50-day in the daily time frame. The bearish scenario is the same thing as XLM, is you get rejected, you come back down, test this wick, can't hold it, and before you know it, you're sitting down there on the 200-day moving average in the weekly time frame over the next week to 10 days, because we're looking to see if maybe this is a mountain double top in the macro time frame. See that? And then you have your neckline support there at $1.60. $8.67, which just so happens to be the 100-day moving average, and that gives you a technical target near 70 cents. And that's all something for a different discussion on a different day. But the coins continue to be bearish. The holiday season isn't an extravaganza this year, but old Vincenzo and my members and the audience here has been prepared, has understood what could happen. Nobody ever knows what will happen. We just prepare for what could and what probably will happen. Texas buys the Bitcoin dip, acquiring 5 million of BlackRock IBIT. Traders are flooding markets with risky bets. Robinhood CEO is their cult hero. Solana ETF inflows hit record 58 million with consecutive weekly gains. Here's what Solana founder just said. I'm expecting a big collapse in Solana soon, just like you've seen in some of these other funds after they had their record pumps into them, like Ethereum just did. Now it's Solana. MicroStrategy holds 48.4 billion in Bitcoin. MetaPlanet raises 130 million Bitcoin. Short squeeze flushes out late longers as funding turns negative. Classic capitulation signal. Like the channel, subscribe. Lots of things going on as the yearly crypto season ends and the winter season and new year begins. Peace and love.